Yo, guys, how's it going? It's Mateo with State of the Lakers, and today I got my buddy Atticus here, who is a big time Phoenix Suns fan, lives in Phoenix too. How's it going, man?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me, Mateo. Yeah, Suns looked pretty good tonight, despite all the shenanigans that went on.
I know, I bet you're in a good mood. I'm not in a good mood, on the other hand, but
Oh yeah, how
there
was that?
gotta take things in stride, especially in this weird ass COVID year, dude. So many unforeseen things happen. Um, Tonight's result was one of them. We actually lost to the Phoenix Suns. It was 114-104. The Lakers are now 24-12. Suns are 23-11, and actually in second place. You probably didn't see that coming, did you, Addy? This early in the season.
Absolutely not. I mean, if you asked me from the start of the season, could I hope for this? The answer would have definitely been no. Most experts had us maybe just scraping by and making the playoffs. There didn't seem to be a lot of space in the West, considering how good it's been. But when you add a piece like Chris Paul, it kind of changed the whole dynamic of the team.
Yeah, I think we all kind of thought, oh, there's going to be another similar OKC push that'll push them in like the middle of the conference. And maybe that's
Hmm.
where they end up. But
Hmm.
second place this early on, I mean, good for you guys. If you missed the game, I'll just get into a quick recap of what went down. So leading up to it, if we had everyone healthy, this could have been an incredible national TV matchup. Imagine if Anthony Davis is healthy. Obviously, he's not. He's got the Achilles injury. But the Lakers tonight were missing Marc Gasol to COVID protocols, just like with Dennis Schroeder. So he could have been exposed to someone. Doesn't necessarily mean he has it, but he's going to be out. And because the All-Star game is coming up, we just have one more till the All-Star break. So he's probably not going to play in that one, and he'll be back after the All-Star break. But also for the Lakers, Kyle Kuzma was a late scratch due to an ankle issue, and he's been on the injury report. But this time he was just held out. That was a big time thing that happened, and it happened right as the game was about to start. So the Lakers had a big man problem tonight, and then they were going against DeAndre Ayton, who's a formidable 7-footer. The only big man we had was Damian Jones, and we weren't even sure if we were going to get him because he's on a 10-day, but he's also injured. But because we were so desperate for size, we ended up rolling with him. He played a few minutes and not enough, in my opinion. On the other hand, Phoenix was healthy, but they lost Devin Booker in the middle of the game to one of the weakest ejections I've seen in a long time. Um, the Suns were dead last in rebounds per game, last in free throw attempts, and bottom six in points in the paint per game. So I thought, okay, this is a jump shooting team. If we're going to be really short on bigs, this is the kind of team you want to go against. If we need to survive without our best big men. But I guess I didn't account for the destruction of Dario Saric because he had 21 points tonight, and Frank just played awful rotations on him. Um, Anyways, let me get into the game recap. So, first and second quarter, pretty back and forth. I think the Suns had the lead for most of it. Defense of the Lakers was okay. Defense of the Suns was looking decent. The offense for the Lakers was totally disorganized, though. Turnovers, working really hard for bad shots. That was kind of the story of the first. In the second quarter, what stuck out to me, and this is where the game got chippy, Booker ended up tripping KCP. I missed the exact play, but I heard about it. It sounded pretty blatant. What do you think on that play, Addy, for the trip on KCP?
I mean, Book Book was coming off the screen, and I think Harrell was the one who set the screen, and he felt like he got tripped. Those are typical screens in the NBA, though. He left the leg dangling, and then Book's on the ground, and the pass goes to the guy that he was guarding at the time, to KCP, and he reached a hand out. It was very Grayson Allen esque, but the nothing was coming from that play specifically. But at the same time, it's not a basketball play. If they would have called a flagrant on
Yeah.
it, it would have been a weak flagrant, but I would have understood it. It's a frustration thing. You're just going to reach a hand out there. Um, but they're competitive guys, and it's a big game. Booker has had a lot of weight on his shoulders, and I think this is the first game of the season where there's a national spotlight. You're going against one of your rivals in the Pacific Division, the Lakers, and you're going to get caught up in the heat of the moment sometimes. So, yeah, a little bit chippy, and you'd like to see Book keep his composure there, but also understandable, especially in a competitive game like this one.
Yeah, and I mean, stuff happens like that. From what I heard, and this is coming from a lot of Laker people. Yeah, it did seem kind of intentional on Book, and I think some frustration started out because it ended up being called a common foul, and it's like, okay, why was that not a flagrant? They're like, okay, whatever. But I think the next play or a few plays later, Book starts driving to the hoop in transition really hard. KCP goes up to block it, and it looked like a basketball play to me. It looked like he was going for the ball, ended up hitting his forearms, but just because Booker kind of moved him around, and then they call KCP for the flagrant, and so I was like, what the fuck? What's going on? And this is the funny part. That scene, you start thinking, oh, the refs have it out for us. They got money on the game. Fuck these guys. But then it gets even weirder. The third quarter runs around, and Devin Booker gets ejected. And even the Lakers are like, what the fuck? Like, dude, the camera caught LeBron as it was going down, be like, wait, what the fuck? Like, LeBron, who will complain about every freaking call, love the guy, but I mean, he does. But even he was like, wait, why are you ejecting Devin Booker? Like, what's wrong?
I'm just waiting for the LeBron tweet that Devin Booker is the most disrespected player by the refs in the NBA.
Oh, I guess you already got the LeBron tweet that he's the most disrespected player, but part two, he's the most disrespected by the refs. No, he's going to say he's going to say Booker is the second most disrespected. I am the most disrespected by the refs. And to be fair, dude, I think LeBron does get a lot of fouls that aren't called that he just kind of bullies through because he's so damn strong. But he does like to make it an issue every time. But hey, man, every superstar in history has worked the refs. Kobe, MJ, everyone you love works those guys to the bone.
I mean, LeBron's almost impossible to ref. I mean, if you hit him or you try to stop him, you're going to bounce off of him. And
I know.
I get it. As a Suns fan, I get frustrated, but it's something that he faces every night. It's like when Shaq was in the league. It's like, how do you even officiate this guy? Somebody's going to end up upset, either LeBron or the other side. It's going to happen regardless. Yeah.
And I'll be interested to see how Zion, ends up getting repped in the future, because that man will just push anyone around. Super, like a big old bowling ball, super entertaining to see.
He's an alien. I mean, we say Giannis is alien, but Zion is unreal. Like you should not be allowed to move that fast and jump that high at that weight. But
you shouldn't be the size of a middle linebacker and moving like LeBron. Like that ain't fair.
Yeah.
So this third quarter, Booker gets ejected. Everyone's confused, but tensions were still high because we're confused, but Lakers are still getting some sus calls. Phoenix felt like they were still getting some sus calls too. We press on, still back and forth. I think the quarter ends up being within 3. Lakers were down. In the fourth quarter, it became Dario Saric time. Jared Dudley was on him. Jared Dudley probably played a month's worth of minutes in this matchup just because we were so low on bigs. And
I saw him come off the bench. In the first quarter, I was like, oh, this is going to be a long night for their bigs.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. You know what's funny? I checked the box score. Jared Dudley had the highest plus minus out of everyone with +9. So that's just a funny little stat for you. I mean, Sarge was killing Dudley on certain plays. Dudley had a few good possessions, tight rotations, but Sarge was just killing it for you guys in the fourth quarter. There was a noticeable lack of Montrezl Harrell in the second half. Frank Vogel just didn't use him at all. I guess because Ayton was kind of killing him, but we didn't even really see Ayton that much in the second half either. So I think the coaches were saving the player for that matchup. What do you think about that? I mean, it didn't seem like they played Ayton much in the second.
No, I mean the team was just clicking, and it is because of Darge, super Dario time. Dario time. The beginning of the season there was definitely a glaring issue with the roster, the starting lineup. It's like who's going to fill that 4 spot? Cam Johnson and Bridges and even Crowder can be a little small sometimes going up against some of the bigger players, especially against the Lakers. I mean, if they were healthy, so to say. But Dario, when he's on the court, I think he has such a firm grasp and understanding of how Monty runs that offense. There's so much motion involved, and he's a smart player. He can find the cutters. He makes good decisions. He'll take a couple bad threes here and there, but there's just a flow with the game. So I don't think Ayton even had a chance to come back. They didn't need him. Offensively, the Suns were just clicking, and without AD on the floor, without Kuzma on the floor, you're missing a lot of scoring on the Lakers side. So the Suns are going to outscore them, I think, in that fourth quarter, especially when Saric is playing that well.
Yeah, it's nice to have a coach who will roll with the hot guy. I mean, Frank Vogel can be like that sometimes, but we also had a game recently where Montrezl Harrell was having his best game of the season, 26 points in 21 minutes, and then Frank didn't play in the last 6 minutes of the fourth quarter. And so Frank can kind of roll with it sometimes, but other times it's like, what is going on, Frank? But hat tip to the Suns. They won a lot of those 50-50 balls, and the Lakers are just missing open threes that they needed to hit to stay in this particular game. What I wanted to see more was Damian Jones on Saric more. He was hurt with a little back ailment, which is why he was questionable for the game. But dude, Damian Jones is on a 10-day, and he was last with the Suns. So you've got some experience with him. Do you have any takes on Damian Jones for the short
Damian
time?
Jones, yeah, he didn't see the floor a lot when he was on the Suns, but you could tell he's a pretty special guy as far as his athleticism goes. And I mean, if you're gonna need a big man to fill a spot and to be a body out there, I think he's a good one to have. But he's bounced around the league for a little bit. I mean, he was on the Warriors, didn't get a ton of playing time with them either. But I think he'll be a nice player for you guys, somebody that gives you energy. He can kind of turn the momentum with a big dunk or a big block here and there. He just kind of finds himself out of position sometimes. So he has to kind of make it up through his energy and his hustle. Otherwise, I mean, he's a 10-day guy, so I don't know how much of an impact he's going to really make at the end of the day.
I think the fans really want it to work just because his skill set really fills a need for a lob threat, an athletic, rim running guy who can block shots, basically give us what we had with Dwight and JaVale a little bit last year. We really don't have that. Mark is so ground bound. Trez is too short to really be a consistent, rim protector. And I just wish Trez was like 6'10" or 6'11". He'd be like a certified all-star. But he's got that short size, man. In the month of February, the Lakers are the worst three-point shooting team in the league. they're ranked dead last. That's how bad we've been from three. But that, I mean, what can you say about three-point shooting besides make your damn shots? Because they're generating good looks for people, but they're just not hitting them. And hey, maybe they're tired. Maybe their legs are tired from the compact schedule, short off season. I guess that's why we're all looking forward to the All-Star break. So.
Yeah, but LeBron still had 38 minutes tonight, 38 points on 16 of 24 shooting, and he's the oldest guy on the court.
I know.
How are you going to use? You can't use tired legs right now as an excuse, can you? If LeBron is coming out here and just, I mean, he rolls out of bed and gets you 30 and 10. So I don't know. He's not human either, but yeah,
he might be an exceptional circumstance. Yeah, but that is worth noting that this 36-year-old, he got 38 tonight, and he's played every game. He's just as tired as everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, and during that fourth quarter, he reeled off 3 or 4 threes in a row, and it was like, he cut it to 7 or 8.
I remember that
with 2.5 minutes. I'm like,
I remember feeling really good, but I was like,
I've been here before.
Yeah, I remember feeling good about that, but I was like, the rest of the team is just so off. So, hey, man, the rest of the team, I don't know if they put $1 million into their body each year like LeBron does, or just have that same kind of. I mean, they're pretty driven guys, but that same kind of like LeBron level superstar drive. My main takeaways from this game were kind of Frank's decision to put Dudley so much on Saric, and that ended up swinging a big part of the game for the Suns. Really wanted to see Damian Jones there more. Would have even liked to see some more Dennis Schroeder Montrez action, just because our offense looks so dead at parts of it. What were your main takeaways from the game?
Well, on the Suns side, it's the roster construction with what James Jones has done in his short 2 years here. I mean, you're talking about completely overhauling this roster and keeping a young core of Booker and Ayton. You can throw Bridges in there too, but Devin Booker, 24 minutes. He was having a really nice game before he got ejected in the third. Chris Paul took 4 shots this game. He's 1 for 4 with 8 points. And 10 assists. Wow. I mean, that's it. Yeah, but he's controlling the tempo of the game. Um, it's just everybody else on the team is playing together. I think it's as simple as that. They're doing the little things. Mikal Bridges had probably 3 or 4 hands in there where you're recovering offensive rebounds off of it. There was an air ball 3, and then he grabs it from out of bounds and tips it for Jay Crowder for a layup on a broken play. Little things like that. That's backbreaking for a defense. When you're playing hard defense for 20 seconds, and then somebody is coming in and grabbing those loose balls, and him and Cam Johnson too, just coming in for some clutch shots. And Abdul Nader had a couple blocks. He had 3 or 4 blocks.
He had a
And
couple of threes
he's
that pissed me off
a
too.
couple threes, yeah. And he's not my favorite player, but he's growing on me for sure. He plays hard, and he plays like the next shot is going in, and he plays fearlessly. So Frank Kaminsky didn't see the floor tonight, and he was in our starting lineup last week. So you're talking about these roster pieces that Monty is still kind of getting used to too, but they're interchangeable. We can win with a combination of different lineups. So it's pretty encouraging to see. That's kind of my main takeaway. Without your two biggest stars, Booker and Paul, popping off, you're still able to win against a shorthanded Laker team. We'll say that for sure, but still an impressive performance for me tonight.
Yeah, and let me ask you, just because I don't know exactly myself, how much continuity is there on this Phoenix team from last year, and how hard have you been hit by any of the COVID protocols? Have guys missed time because of COVID or because of protocols?
Yeah, Saric missed some time earlier, and there's some contact tracing. So we had about 3 or 4 games that were just either postponed or delayed.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, as far as continuity goes, I mean, it started last year in the bubble. I mean, the bubble Suns, the story, probably besides Dame, in those 8 playing games, or the 8 games before the playoffs there. And you could tell the team had this sense of togetherness that they were playing with, and we have nothing to lose, and let's just prove people wrong. And you're hanging on to that young core. Campaign was part of that run. Somebody we picked up off the scrap heap who didn't have his best game tonight, but just makes winning plays, like a lot of the players on the team. And when you bring in a guy like Chris Paul, I don't know how much I can harp on this, but he brings another attitude of professionalism, of seriousness. And I think the biggest thing with Chris Paul, of course, he has taken young Booker under his wing, but for DeAndre Ayton, I think he's huge to have somebody who understands the pick and roll so well, how to space the floor properly. I know he is always in Ayton's ear at practice and trying to get him to do the right things on every single play, and to really pay attention to the little details. And Ayton hasn't really had monster numbers this year, but defensively he's always in the right position. He makes people change their shots, and he affects the game in other ways that don't necessarily pop up on the stat sheet there.
Yeah, if I was a Suns fan, I'd be super excited about Chris Paul's mentorship on Devin Booker and with Ayton. I mean,
Yeah.
if I was a fan of the team and Chris Paul came to, yeah, I'd be most excited about his his ability to keep cool when the game's on the line for the other guys, man. I mean, we saw that a lot in Houston. We've seen it all his career. Just when you can feel shit getting hot, he has an even hand, which I think leads to a lot of clutch baskets from him over the years. Even though he's had moments where he's choked, I think he got this big rep for not getting out of the second round before. But I thought the clutch moments he did have in the first and second round were pretty impressive. So I always have kind of credited him as a clutch player.
Absolutely. I think just having another playmaker besides Devin, like the last 5 years, there was so much
That's been
weight
the
on
talking
Devin's
point.
shoulders.
Something point guard, Alonzo.
Yeah.
That's been the whole
I
thing.
mean, the whole talk was, good stats, bad team guy, Devin Booker. And just watching him play, it's like he was it wasn't long ago that the lineup that we were trotting out was like Marquise Chris, Booker, Dragon Bender was our starting center,
Yeah, it
and
really wasn't long ago.
yeah, Brandon Knight. That was our starting 4 or 5 there, and
Yeah,
they were shitting on Booker, and it's like, this guy is special. He has a calmness to his game. He knows when he needs to take over, and the game is getting away from him. He's got a good feel for it, and he's learned to kind of let the game come to him. But the biggest thing is it takes the pressure off of him. In the fourth quarter, Chris Paul's, like you said, he's had some mishaps in the playoffs through injury or whatever it might be. But to have somebody else out there that you can trust to make big shots, that plays a huge role as far as your confidence in the team and the team's ability to win at the end of the day.
yeah. One last question before you go. How do you think the teams match up if they were to meet in, say, like the first or second round or something like that?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Or even the conference finals if you guys stay hot.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
gonna be an
yeah.
unpredictable year. What do you think about the matchup if both teams were healthy?
I mean, I would still give it to the Lakers in a 7-game series. I'd probably say Lakers in 6. As much as I love the Suns team, I don't think they're quite ready to. I mean, if we meet the Lakers, it would probably be in the conference finals. To beat them, that would be us getting to the finals. But AD not being on the floor here, it's hard to get an idea of what this matchup would actually be like. I think
It's
the
true.
80,
Yeah.
I think the 80 Aiton matchup is really, really interesting. But I mean, when AD gets cooking, he's unstoppable. Absolutely
Yeah, we really
unstoppable.
saw that shit last year in the bubble, man. I think
Yeah,
last year's playoff AD, I think
yeah,
it's probably Lakers in 5, maybe 6 if we get like a
yeah,
legendary Booker game. Um,
yeah.
but it with this Laker team, in the offseason, their depth was something that was really harped on. But I think if you're missing key pieces, that depth kind of falls apart just because of the skill set
Hmm.
that these players have. And we
Right.
saw it in this 4-game losing streak the Lakers recently had. You don't have AD, and we lost Dennis Schroeder 4 games to COVID protocols. But
Hmm.
without having that second initiator, you're asking guys like Alex Caruso to initiate too much. Guys like Kuzma, who's not always the best shot creator for himself, even though we see flashes of it, he's not the most consistent.
Hmm.
So, but when you have AD and Schroeder out there, all
Hmm.
the pieces fit together. So, I mean, when people are still getting wins over us, I'm not getting too upset because I know to me, this isn't really the true Lakers team. This is just, what we got to deal with right now. So I'm having a hard time getting too worked up over losses. I mean, I'll always get pissed in the moment, but after a little while, I kind of step back and be like, this isn't really the Lakers yet. Let's wait until,
Yeah,
April, May is
yeah.
when we're going to kind of get heat. May is going to be the last month of the season. So April and May, if we don't get the ship right until then that's when I'll start getting concerned. But we got some time. And in the meantime, I just want guys to get healthy, man. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. You got any parting thoughts, Addy?
Uh, Great game. Because the Suns got a win, but it was encouraging to see guys step up. I'm just excited to see where the Suns team goes, and hopefully that they can stay consistent throughout. And look forward to meeting you guys in the playoffs.
Yeah, man. And next time we match up with the Suns, I actually don't know when it is, but you should totally come back on. This is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Had a great time. Thanks for having me, Mateo.
For sure, man. Take it easy.
All right. Thank you, guys.